Oh, good morning. This morning we have with us Mr. Dean Goodman. How you doing, Dean?
Fine, I'm fine. That heavy on that mystery.
Mister, that's
Yeah,
exactly right.
yeah.
Well, I don't know about you, but I don't like that title
No,
much.
no.
Like some people say, that was my grandpa.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyway, Dean called me the other day and said, "Hey," "I'm coming through Rachel. You gonna be around?" I said, "Yeah, I am, and we're gonna do an interview." And so we haven't had time to prepare for it this morning. He's just coming through and
Off the cuff.
yeah, just off the cuff, and so there'll be no pictures. You're just gonna have to stare at us. And I actually had forgotten that he was coming, and I was working out in the yard, and Steve Crasher called and said, "Hey," said, "a guy named Dean Goodman's stand out behind the museum. I think he's wanting in." I said, "Gosh, I'll be right there." So that's what happens in your 70s, I guess. When you graduate?
1961.
Gosh.
As a matter of fact, I'll do a little advertising here. This year we're going to do a little get together with the class of 62 and 61. We're meeting at the Grecian Steakhouse on Saturday, weekend, Labor Day weekend, for a little visit. So it's nothing really, so they don't have to do a lot of work. Because people down here get jammed up with all the work whenever we have a real big get together. So we're going to do that. That'd be kind of fun, I think.
Yeah, I have a couple of friends in other schools that they at their 10-year reunion, their 25 year.
Yeah, we've had them all.
But when they do that, the one who is having their 25th reunion, they invite the two classes on each side of them.
Oh, really? I didn't.
And they have one big reunion, and I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
we did everything together,
right.
That class and our class. So I talked to Glenn Lou Clarity. That's my go-to girl with the 62 class, and
she's a dandy.
She liked the idea. So we put it together, and I think it's going to be it's going to be a success.
Well, our class is 70. For years, we have met at the $1,000 drawing on the Sunday before Labor Day. Sunday out of Labor Day weekend, and that way all the people coming through from different classes, they'll come over and visit with us, and we've been doing that, gosh, I don't know, maybe since the 25th or 30th, I can't remember, but we decided to start having them every year.
We've already have we had our 60th year at 60? Yeah,
because
we already had our 60th, so we decided at this age we are losing them. We would start kind of like just get together in between, or so, because I don't know how many's going to be here for 65,
Right.
Probably not me.
Well, you seem to be pretty good at health.
Biscuits and gravy and hard work. if that
bacon,
yeah,
all that stuff.
No, we had hog jaw. I didn't have bacon.
All that stuff that was really good for our grandparents and not good for us for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
Sure tastes good, though, don't it?
It does, yeah.
Yeah. Pretty lucky, I guess.
So, one of the things that I really like to talk about with guys, especially your age, is what went on as teenagers downtown.
We had, I just can't explain how much fun I had more fun than our group. We had, everybody has a little group to run with. We were always doing something, and not bad. Everything we did, a lot of stuff that was funny, but nothing destructive or anything. So my crew was David Bearden, Buddy and Terry Deals, Butch Reddick, Melvin Sonny. Of course, most everybody knows that his mother died, and then he came and lived with me his last 4 years of school. So he was. I had to look up to him, but that's my little brother,
Right.
You're younger than me. So that was our group, and we just did everything together, and we just had a good time. I love this town. I didn't want to graduate. I knew I was having fun, so I didn't really want to graduate and grow up, but had to.
I don't remember then not wanting to graduate, and I've said this before, there are times when I just get homesick. Like when I was in basic, I feel the same way
Yeah.
about seeing my classmates. Do
Oh,
you
yeah.
do that?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
and we still are close. I
Yeah.
I still communicate with the ones that the workhorses. You know, was Paula Roof takes care of all of the computer names and to send her on it. You know, send them out to the class. But Barbara Keller and because we had. And by the way, we had. A bevy of beautiful girls in our class and boys from every town around here, Piggott, Kennett, Paragould. They was down here at Rector.
Marmaduke.
Yeah,
Marmaduke wanted to hang you.
Marmaduke's just like an extension of Rector,
Yeah,
so they was here all the time.
Yeah.
But I mean, down here, taking our girlfriends away from us. So, but the thing of it was that most of them felt like they were. You know, I didn't date many people from in my class because they felt like sisters, you know,
Mm-hmm.
brothers and sisters. We had a really close-knit class. Still do. We're still close, the ones that's left.
I've never thought about that, but I didn't date.
No, it was like,
No, yeah, I didn't date not one classmate. No. Well, I never thought about that.
yeah.
But
back
I'm
then it
like
wasn't
you.
right to go out with your cousins or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Now anything goes, I guess.
Well, our class was pretty close too.
Mm-hmm.
But what's funny about that is they're close, but when we have a class reunion, what we call a class reunion is more of a get together.
Yeah.
There'll be 11, 12, 13. I don't think we ever
From
had
other
more
classes?
than. No, that's all from our
okay.
class.
Yeah.
And let's see, we graduated I think 61, and we've lost about 15. So we still have 35.
And your class was what year? 70?
70,
70, yeah.
And we lost so many right off the bat, and then but then it's been several years now since we've lost one, I think.
Well, see,
so.
now even in the 62 class, a bunch of those were my friends, and man, they're gone, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Our other
Same
good friend that from Piggott, Joey Rogers, because he went with Martha Lynn Dennison, so he was up here at Rector all the time. Later, after he went to Arkansas State in the band. He and Leland were in the Arkansas State band, and I think he had too much partying anyway. He flunked out. The next thing I know, he joined the Marine Corps, and I'd already been in there about 3 years when he showed up one day. So we became really good friends. But he's been dead now for several years too. I mean, all of my friends are pretty much gone.
Yeah.
Except you're still here.
I'm still here. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's and we've really gotten to be good friends over the last few years. It's funny how that
There's something
goes
about
around.
Rector. I mean, I say that all the time when I see when anything comes across my phone. Rector, they're just special. You know, all the of course, when I got back out of the service in '66. So I got to, for a couple of years I was around here. I got acquainted with the classes that graduated in the '65, and they had a passel of beautiful girls too. And I see, when I see them, they're just special. Anybody from Rector, I don't know why, but they're special.
Well, let me ask you something.
What's that?
Dean? Have you ever seen an ugly girl? I've never heard you say that before.
No.
That's what I thought.
I didn't even back whenever it made a difference, but I sure never see anything. As long as it's breathing now, it looks good to me. But Rector, this is the truth. My mother is from Piggott area, Clay County. I mean, out in the country, but anyway, she went to Piggott and everything. So, but I remember her telling me whenever I was going to school here, and I graduated here, of course, she said that they were known. Rector was known for having good-looking people, and I'm talking about men and women. Now we kind of screwed that up maybe a little bit, but
Yeah, we did.
but she's always told me that. Said, yeah, Rector is known for good-looking people, and I have to agree with her.
So when you were in school,
Yeah.
they had cars back then, didn't they?
Barely. I had
Okay.
a 49. My first car is a '49 Chevrolet Businessman coupe, and it had bad paint there a couple of years, and my top was rusty. That's what I had to compete with all these town boys You know, I had to do a lot of talking to get anybody to go out with me with a car like that. But yeah, we had cars.
Well, what I was going to ask you is, so where was the circle when you were driving town?
It was Main Street up here, and turn around at the mobile station on the right there.
White Way service station.
Yeah, and turn around there and go all the way back down. Of course, Richard put in that A&W down there on the right just before you get to the highway. But then we'd make the highway, and even before they built the M&M, we'd go down and turn around at where that grocery store and everything, on the two roads.
In the intersection.
We'd use that to turn. That was it, back and forth. Lord, I don't know how many miles.
Yeah, well,
put on
you know, and before that, and I don't know when it was, but before that, they only went from the White Way service station down to Fritz service station.
Really?
That was
Just
the
on
circle.
railroad?
Yeah, that was the circle at one time.
Whoa!
Years ago.
Y'all cut it in half.
Well, no, that was before you.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh.
and then no, when I was, we were doing the same thing as you. We were going all the way down there.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'd circle through to see who was
Bird had
at
the grocery
M&M.
store right there beside A&W.
So where were the pool halls when you were?
Okay, one was still right up here by the theater, next door to the
Next
Ford
door,
Theater. That
okay.
was Robert's. That was the main one. And Richard, he put in one. It was down on the right-hand side there by Western Auto.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was right in there. So those are the two, but Roberts was the main one. And
Now Robert
Gordon.
Gordon,
Yeah,
okay.
Mickey Gordon's dad. Here's something a lot of people don't know, but Mickey Gordon was the only person that I know of in Rector that started when he came over to junior high. You know, the junior high, that was in a high school building then, 7th and 8th grade, and 9th was in the high school building. When he came over on Who's Who, when they voted Who's Who, he got the most
Votes.
oh, the one where he was acting up or crazy.
Demerits.
He won that for 6 straight years, all the way through junior high and high school.
Most
I don't know anybody.
mischievous.
Mischievous.
Yes,
That's it.
most
The most
mischievous.
mischievous. No one has ever done that before.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I always thought there were two pool halls beside the theater. You know, one next to it and one maybe down.
No, just the one. Gordon's was there, and then right next there was that little restaurant. You know.
Yeah, I think that's.
The theater didn't have a bathroom, so they'd have to go somewhere else. People would to go to the bathroom. The girls, they'd have to go to that restaurant or somewhere. They got away with it back then.
Yeah, I always heard that the guys with the pool hall, but girls didn't go to the
they
pool
couldn't go in there. No.
And so the girls would go down the alley behind the drugstore.
Yeah.
Over to the park.
Yeah.
And use the bathroom there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So.
But the guys could go in there, but no woman. The wives would come to the front door, and somebody come and ask them. They just didn't go inside that door, so they'd go and tell them whoever she wanted to get a message to. They'd take them the message. But women, I've never seen a female inside that pool hall.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that you would be ashamed for them to see, but it was pretty ratty. You know, the bathroom in the back of the place just had like a little wall built around it, and it was a trough to go to bed. You didn't have a seat or anything, so it was pretty raunchy. But I guess they didn't want them to come in there. And
did it have water running all the time?
Had
a rod, a hose in it. I remember those.
Yeah.
We had those in at Boyceville when they put they finally put bathrooms in the restrooms inside the building, and when they did, that's the way they were.
Yeah.
But
it's funny. They was just standoffish. Of course, most all of the guys, if they drink, them old guys that hung around there a lot, they'd have their bottles up in, setting up on the shelf and everything. Go back and take a drink. Go to the bathroom and go back and shoot some more pool.
So tell me something mischievous y'all did.
About everything we did. Mickey Gordon, he deserved that thing. He did several things. I remember him coming up to you in school building, and wait till like we'd be changing, there'd be all kinds of people around there, and he'd come up and he'd say something to you. So when you started to answer it, he'd say, "Jesus Christ, your breath!" Talk about how bad your breath. Well, no one knew that wasn't true. The other one that we did. We go down to, of course, I never had any money, but I always had that car, and had gas in it from our tractor barrel. I'd go out there, and I always had car and gas. So they'd ride with me. It'd be full of like 4 or 5 guys in there, and we'd have it made up on one. So we'd pull in there at Richards A&W, and everybody starts screaming, "Jesus, holy!" And everybody opened the door, and everybody leaving. One guy sitting in the car who was as innocent as a baby. That's the kind of stuff we did. Nothing bad, but it was always pretty fun.
We used to do the Chinese fire drill right in front of Gordon's there, where
you
run around and get back in,
Yeah.
and whoever you were sitting with, and yeah.
Everybody used to holler, for the to get that front seat. Everybody, if you're getting ready to go, you'd have to holler to get it first.
Shotgun.
Shotgun.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that time. Yeah. Well, I'll say this, that it was, there just could not have been a better place to grow up.
No, I didn't realize, I've told this to everybody, I had no idea that I was even getting an education, because I didn't realize that. But I swear to you, when I went out, I left here by myself in California in the service, and when I got around to everybody else, I feel like, that's when I found out that they was doing a good job back here, and I didn't even know it. So
Yeah.
I didn't embarrass Rector at all.
I liked my teachers too.
Oh, me too.
I try to think about what teachers I didn't like. Some were better than others.
Yeah.
But especially as people, I liked everybody I had.
The one that probably changed my life actually was Miss C. She was our English teacher. Yeah. And I know it's hard for anybody to believe now, but I was almost like an introvert. If one-on-one, I was really good, but like getting up in front of a place and talking and whatever, I just hardly couldn't do it. So we were in, of course, a junior. She was our junior sponsor. Junior class, we started reading, and as you would move up for I think 6 weeks, we were doing that. Instead of English, it was all about reading, and but at the same time, she was getting ready to pick the junior play, people in play, and all of a sudden I just kept moving forward, and then the next, at the end, I was sitting on front row, and I said, "Oh man!" So after the class, I went up to her and I said, "Miss C, I think I know what you're doing, and if it is, I can't do that." And anyway, she talked to me. She said, because she was in pretty bad health, and she said, every morning I come to school. Her class was upstairs. Said, I just don't know if I can make it upstairs or not, but I always make it. Anyway, she made me stay there into it, and that really changed my life, because I fell in love with this town even more. I liked it before, but I really loved Rector. Rector was good to me.
Yeah, people were with Glenn Sains were always saying at the other dealerships, when you move into Paragould, and my response was, we don't have any stoplights.
Well, I did. Matter of fact, I remember when we had that.
Yeah.
It only lasted 2 years at the most.
I think it was. I've looked it up, and I think it's 56 to 58.
Yeah, I know it wasn't. Yeah, 2 year. I believe it's 2 year. And everybody hated it. I don't even know why whoever sold them that was a good salesman, because when they took it down, it didn't change. There wasn't anything going across the way there at the bank and the theater. That's the only thing that on both sides of the street. That was silly, but yeah, I was here during those 2 years.
Who owned the building on the first building, or the last building on this block.
Hardin.
Yeah, okay. Well,
He owned everything. He was really well off.
Well,
Clayton Hardin.
Yeah, I've done lots of studied history rector over the years,
Really?
and interviewed lots of people.
Yeah.
And the story that I hear more than any is that he hated that thing, and so
I can see that he would. Yeah.
and so when he came up to it, if it was red, he just kept going.
Yeah.
And after about 2 or 3 wrecks, they took it down.
Was that what it was? I didn't.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I've heard. Yeah.
But I know he wouldn't have liked it. I know him well enough to know he wouldn't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. Did you know that he was the one that we had Mose? Hope that, but that was his name.
That's what everybody called him. Yeah.
So, and everybody loved him to death, and he'd sat on that street. But as he got older, Clayton Hardin was one that fed him. Took care of him as for financial, because he was loaded. Clayton had a lot of money.
Yeah. My mother used to talk about him.
Yeah. Everybody
sitting
loved
him. on a cane bottom chair down here in front of Clayton Hardin's.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
would give the kids candy
yeah.
when they would come through. And
Yeah, everybody loved that guy. All
Yeah.
the only
Yeah.
parents and the kids. Yeah.
Well, I'll probably leave that in there, and then if I get some complaints and NAACP calls
that was his name.
That was his name.
I don't know his
That's
name.
right.
I don't know another name on him.
Yeah.
I guess just Mose, maybe.
Yeah, Mose. Yeah,
Should've
Mose
just said
not.
that, I
Yeah.
guess.
Well, I can edit that if we
Okay.
need to. So, but I've had several people,
Yeah.
talk about
that
it,
was
and
said
that's
in
what
love.
they
That's
use.
because everybody
Yeah,
loved him to death.
Yeah. And they did. There's no doubt about that. And but did you ever go out to his
No.
house?
No.
Well, the people who have bought his the farm where the cemetery is.
Yeah.
Called me just as soon as they bought it. They called me and said, "Hey, we want to fix that that cemetery up, but it's under a lease, and it'll be under the lease, I think, until June.
Yeah.
And when they do, I hope there's enough people left living that knew him that
Yeah.
we can get enough money to
Yeah.
put a new fence
Well,
around
now
it.
we're all hooked up with this telephone
Yeah.
friendship thing is all hooked together. I donated some stuff whenever they first started this sports.
Oh,
deal.
Hall of Fame, yeah,
So-
yeah.
so
That's
now that
that's a
we're-
good organization. I tell you,
Now that
they
we're
do
all
so
hooked
much.
up, yeah.
They do so much for those kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the helping hands, I try to keep us back into that time as much as I can. But what I haven't talked about is you when you got out of high school, did you go immediately into the Marines?
No. Well, see, first of all, you couldn't get a decent job without your military getting out of the way, because nobody would hire you,
Yeah.
So I ended up working, on the farm. I went to Little Rock, first of all. As soon as I graduated, I went to Little Rock. I had 2 sisters that lived there. So I got a job as a dental technician. But they didn't pay anything. I think I only made like $1.35 an hour or whatever. And
And that was where?
Little Rock,
Little Rock. Okay.
North Little Rock. So, but then I was in charge of making the gold crowns, and then I would deliver them. I had a Cushman scooter they did to make deliveries in all over, all the dentists. This dental lab made all the other stuff for them. So I did that till about starved to death, and I came back home. It was in the fall. I came back home, and Dad was just going to disc it under. We had beans. He always planted beans in the corn rows, and they picked the corn, and he said I could have them. So I had my uncle had a great big old self-propelled combine, so he combine anyway. So I made, I don't know, $300 or $400 there, and doing nothing. I thought, well, this is what I need to be doing. So, but then winter hit, so I went to work for Blades
Yeah.
factory out here, and then they went on strike in January or whatever. So
For those who don't know, Blades was a
it's where that Weiss thing is now.
where the boat factory is,
Yeah,
boat
yeah.
seat factory is, and they made
we made parts for airplane parts for McDonnell Douglas, the thing that fits the bombs and whatever underneath the wing. That was our job.
Okay.
So I did that until they did that, and then I joined the Marine Corps in March the 11th, 1962. So I was around here from September till March. Between all of that is the only freedom I had until I left, and of course then everything changed then.
And what did you do in the Marines?
I did the first 2 years. I didn't even know they had such a thing, but they choose you and pick you in boot camp, and they sent me to sea school and trained things about the ship. So I spent 2 years on an aircraft carrier, and there's only 50 Marines on there with 3,000 sailors. So that was my home for 2 years. We took care of the weapons, nuclear weapons watch, and the brig, because whenever they send us when they send us over for deployment overseas, well, that big ship, there's always at least two smaller ships. So anytime anybody got in trouble, they come over to our jail. We had the jail, the brig. So those are the two things that I did for 2 years. Interior guard, they call it.
So were there a lot of people in the brig?
Yeah.
Really?
We always had people. Oh, yeah, but we'd straighten them out. I couldn't tell you. I can't tell you how many chiefs or people that was in charge of the guys that was in there. And actually the guys that we had in there, we didn't treat them very good. But man, they thought they was in the Marine Corps then. They wanted to hang around, and of course you couldn't do that. But I swear to goodness, the chiefs would come around and say, man, they just brag on straightening them guys out. So yeah, that's what we did.
Because your basic was a little rougher than theirs.
Yeah, they hadn't never seen anything like what they saw. Yeah. Oh yeah, there's no comparison. See, when I went in, I was in San Diego, and there's only a fence back then that separated the Navy boot camp and the Marines. Well, we would be out there dying, and they're over there laughing and tying knots, and they wouldn't do anything. So they joked with us for years. That's all we saw the Navy. But yeah, it was a time.
So, gosh, how much did you weigh?
About 160.
160?
Yeah.
I weighed
about as much as this leg right here.
I'm 6'1", and I weighed like 145 when I went in.
Well, when I went in, I weighed, the day that I joined in, I was 133.
Okay.
But my normal weight after boot camp and everything, I set right at 160.
Yeah. Well,
there was no fat.
Yeah, I came out at 178. So yeah, they'll if you're fat, they'll make you skinny. If you're skinny, they'll make you fat.
Yeah. Yeah, there was no fat. And then after I got off, after I had spent my 2 years, I finished up in the 1st Marine Division in Oceanside, which is halfway between San Diego and LA, that's where Camp Pendleton, matter of fact, Camp Pendleton is the largest military base, or whatever you want to call it, that we've got in the United States. So it's just pretty big. Spent 2 years, then I got extended for Vietnam. The Marine Corps got 4 months extension from September of 65 to September of 66, while they give some time to build the service up, with more people. So I was there for that.
So your 4 years became 4 years.
Should have been in March, and I got home in July that year.
Yeah, I see.
That was the longest.
Were you there?
Yeah.
You were in Nam during that.
Yeah, our first. Well, let me explain that. I was there whenever in September's whenever the 1st Marine Division went to Vietnam, but they kept me and a handful of us there to keep paperwork, everything shuffled. I was in the adjutant section. That's the place that writes the orders. And mail. I was the mail and file. Anybody in any of those G companies that get any thing to do. I had to file it in the right places. So they kept me back for that, and even with the 4 months extension, by the time it was time for me to go over there with the 1st Marine Division, I was just under 6 months. Yeah, 6 months they wouldn't they wouldn't send you. So then I stayed there, and you talk about choice duty. I stayed there in the same office, same building. That was a CG building, Commanding General building, and they called in all of the people in the 4th Marine Division, which is the reserve, and so all there was salesmen and people, officers and everything that hadn't been in the service for 100 years, so they didn't know anything about the Marine Corps. Only me and one other guy was the regular Marine Corps. I was a sergeant then. They used us for they asked me all these colonels come up and first name basis. I wasn't used to that, and they said, Dean, what do you think about this? And so I don't know what they did after we got out, but that's where I spent until I got out in July. I came home.
One of the things that most people don't realize is everybody in the military doesn't carry a gun. They don't understand that. Or it doesn't really register with them that maybe they have a gun, but I'm talking about that's not their job.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, the one who did bring that to my attention was General George Barker. We were at a
General.
We were at a from here,
Yeah.
and we were at a memorial service, and when they had the veterans to stand up, I didn't stand up, but he reached over and got my shirt because I was in the National Guard,
Yeah,
and I used to think, that you're just draft dodgers. That's what everybody thinks. And he explained to me. He said we'll talk later. And he explained to me that it takes everybody.
Yeah.
And he said we were here guarding this country.
All the other branches, when they say something like they think we're, the Marines thinks nobody else. I said, no, man, I like, we need everybody. You need everybody. Yeah.
Well, he explained to me, so, there were people in Germany who didn't go to Vietnam either, but we had to have them.
Yeah.
They, those people, like back then, the National Guard was.
They didn't even use them until, that's the first time they ever used them like they did during the Vietnam. I mean, my goodness, National Guard is who they kept calling everybody in for the National Guard.
Yeah,
Big time.
and they did World War II and Korea both, but nobody knew about it.
Yeah.
It was one of those things.
That is right. They did that out of Piggott. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
I had an uncle that went. Yeah, that's right.
And so, but we don't think about that.
No.
We think about National Guard being Homeland Security.
Yeah.
Just guarding this country. And but by having people in the offices, it allows the people to go into the fields.
Yes.
So it takes
Sure
everybody.
does.
And I didn't think about that. But
There was when I was on that ship, the Marines the only one that had guns with bullets. Now they had those. The Navy department that does watches and everything. Like we pull into a port, they would have their guys walking along the side of the ship and everything. They give them an old carbine rifle, no bullets. They didn't shoot them.
Really?
And I never could understand. I said, what's that about? Because whenever we would, even aboard the ship, when we would take prisoners to the meal and everything, we had our pistols. They were loaded. We had loaded 45s all the time. And of course, our rifles. Even when you're on that ship, Marines has every year they got to go and requalify, make sure you can use that weapon, because if anything happens, whatever detail you're on, you're grunt first. So I want everybody to know how to shoot a rifle.
Yeah.
So,
that was my favorite part. It was funny. Is I don't care anything at all about guns now. I'm not anti-weapon.
yeah, I've got them, but I don't.
But I fired second highest out of 219, and they said it was because they didn't have to break my bad habits.
Yeah.
They taught me from the beginning how to fire, But gosh, I loved that. I loved all the
You know
night
what?
fire
Listen
and
to
the
me. When I was
running.
in second ITR, we went through weapons in boot camp for shooting a rifle. That's a 2-week thing, you know, that you go and you do.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody has a rifle, but then after second ITR, you really play war stuff. You have all the other
Yeah.
building. We'd use a 3.5 rocket launcher, but the one that I just loved, but I didn't want to be one, but the flamethrower. God,
Oh, no.
you talking
Yeah.
about feeling superior. You know, it had that napalm in it,
Uh-huh.
and shoot out there, and when it sticks on something, it just burn. You know that.
Uh-huh.
I love that.
Oh,
That's
wow.
one of my favorite weapons
Yeah.
that I shot.
Well, so we're almost we're at 35 minutes, so we got off on the military. I
Yeah.
guess that's okay. But
Yeah.
so is there anything that you can think of that we haven't talked about? That anything that happened at school? Any?
Yeah, I graduated.
You finally made it. Huh?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, Miss McCready told me one time, said, we may have to burn this building to get you out of here.
She was fun. You know what? A lot of people. I liked her. She was dry. You
Yeah.
talking about dry? You know, but she was a good teacher.
Yeah,
I thought she was
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, we had, you know, all of them were
Yeah.
dang good. Now that I got older and realized what they was doing.
You know, and we thought they were old.
Well, they were. I called them World War II vintage because we had all the teachers. We didn't have any of the young ones. Now, some of, like Kay Burns and a few of those girls younger, they came back and they was teaching by the time I got out of the Marine Corps here. We didn't have any, you know, they was all
Oh, yeah.
vintage teachers whenever we went to school there.
It took me a while to figure out who Kay Burns was, but I know. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like Paul Ruff. See, I still know all of my classmates as their
Yeah.
original names, so
Yeah.
yeah. Kay was a cutie pie.
By the way, it's Kay Hill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Barry. See, I know
For the
Barry was one of
Barrys,
the
yeah.
guys that kept hanging there around Rector.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, I was in guards
I
with
know.
him too. Yeah.
Barry real well.
So I know that we're missing something. We always do.
Yeah.
But and like I told you, this 35 minutes goes fast
Yeah.
once you get started.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun.
You were not that way, but most of them were like, well, I don't think I can do this.
We're just
And
getting
then-
started.
And when we and then after they do the interview, the first thing they say is, "Boy, that was fun."
Yeah.
You know, and
You think about stuff you hadn't thought about in a while.
yeah. So we'll do this again.
Okay.
I plan on trying to do several
Okay.
Labor Day weekend, and
We'll take it from the military on next.
That's right. That's exactly right. All right. Well, Dean, it's good to see you again,
Yeah.
and I'm glad you come through, and
Yeah, I appreciate it.
we'll do this
All right.
again. Think
Very
about
good.
what you want to talk about. Maybe
All
we'll
right.
do it Labor Day.
All right.
All right.
All right. Bye.
Thanks. All right.